Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 145. We are basically at the end of August. My kids actually started school yesterday, and sucks to be them. Sucks to be us. Sucks to be back in the throes of school, but it's inevitable. You know, most of our friends are starting school after Labor Day. For some reason, our school district is like the only school district that I know of in Long Island that starts before Labor Day. I think it's a publicity stunt that our superintendent pulls, so he gets on the news that first school to open in Long Island, blah 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 blah. My poor kids have to suffer because of that, but regardless, our grind has officially begun. We're up in the morning doing the school drives, by making lunch, making breakfast. Teamwork makes the dream work. I'm sure all of you out there are either in the throes of this. I think schools, outside of New York do start earlier, but if you're in the New York area, you're about to jump into the throes of the school year. So I wish you luck with that. Enjoy, for most of you out there, the last weekend of summer. The last unofficial weekend of summer before the grind begins, and wishing you all a wonderful Labor Day weekend. So let's get to the crux of this podcast. This is going to be another story time podcast. I want to share a story with you guys and a few lessons that I learned, or that can be learned from this story. So I'm going to take you back to Christmas time this year. My family and I, we went down to the Caribbean. We were staying at a beautiful resort on the island of Nevis, and it was amazing. And one day when I was at the pool trying to find some shade, I was adjusting the umbrella, and there was a couple sitting behind us, and the wife of this couple said, "Hey, are you," I forget exactly what she said, but she said something along the lines of, "Are you Dr. Mudgil? Are you the doc from Instagram?" And we just started chatting it up. So it turns out she follows me on social media, on Instagram, and has followed me for quite a while. And, we met each other for the very first time. And, when she said that, I said, "Hey, would you mind saying that a little bit louder so my wife can hear it?" Gotta give myself a little chuckle. But they're a wonderful, wonderful couple here they live in the New York area. Just from that, she had sent me a message, I think, it was around New Year. So she sent me a message, I think it was New Year's Eve or the day before that. "Hey, nice to meet you." Something along those lines. And I said, "Hey, it was very nice meeting you too." And I started following her. We've become, Instagram friends, as is I guess fairly common in this day and age. So, we'll DM every now and then. I'll follow her stories, she'll follow mine, a little chit chat, it's just having some good fun. And fast forward to July of this year. So it was the week right before July 4th. It was July 4th week. And I got a DM from this woman that said that, "Hey, my husband has a suspicious looking growth on his chest, and he's had a history of melanoma and a bunch of skin cancers. And, our dermatologist, who happens to be a friend of mine, is out of town. And is there any way that you might be able to see him?" And I said, "Well, of course." It was a very busy week for me too. It was a very short week. I was seeing patients Monday and Tuesday, and then we were actually flying off for a long weekend trip for July 4th weekend / my birthday. But I said, "You know what?" I was like, this was a Monday. And I said, "You know what? If you guys can, I can actually squeeze him in Tuesday into my Long Island office. And, I'll be happy to help, of course." So they were staying out in the Hamptons. He came out on Tuesday afternoon when I was seeing patients, saw the spot, looked a little funky looking, took a sample of it and said, "I'll get back to you, as soon as right after the holiday weekend. I'll let you know what next steps are." And the spot actually, so I came back from holiday, and I was reading my slides, and I was like, "Uh-oh, this is something." And I gave him a buzz, and it actually turned out to be a melanoma. And I got him plugged in with the doctor that I love in New York City, who handles all of my patients' melanoma cases. And he's all plugged in, got taken care of. And I saw him this week for a skin screening, and we're just chatting. Great guy. Bought me a beautiful bottle of scotch. Very unnecessary. But of course, I appreciate it. Very, very kind and generous of him. And during the course of the exam, he mentioned to me, he's like, "Hey, you know what? I think it must have been the oncologist, because I think he had to meet with the oncologist." And the oncologist said to him, "He's like, hey, you're lucky, you got this taken care of when you did, because had it been another month, the outcome could have been, much, much different, and, meaning much, much worse. And it had me thinking about a bunch of things. When things like this happen, it's kind of like I always think the universe delivers in strange ways and amazing ways. We're all connected in some strange way. But a couple of things. So a couple of lessons to be learned from this. One is, if you have a spot on your skin that you're not sure about, and patients generally themselves have some kind of intuition about a spot, like, I'm a little worried about this. Even if it can look like something benign, but a new spot pops up, like, I'm not sure about this. Get in to see your dermatologist right away. It's very, very important. And this case highlights that. This was, it was kind of a funny looking lesion, but it was small, on a guy who has lots of spots because, he's been in the sun for many, many years, has a history of lots of skin cancers, etc. But, thank God, he came in to see me. Thank God his wife, maybe twisted his arm a little bit to get him in. But it turned out, he had a melanoma that was not a trivial melanoma, and fortunately was able to get treated right away, and the outcome is going to be very good. I'm pretty confident of that. And so that's the first and most important lesson to be learned from this. If you have a spot that you're not sure about, get in to see your dermatologist and get it checked out right away. It's very, very important. Skin cancer is one of those things that it's pretty much 100% curable 100% of the time, as long as you catch it early. It's when things fester and nefarious things are able to do their nefarious things that folks can get into trouble. So that's the most important lesson we learn from here. The second thing is it it really kind of highlighted to me having access to healthcare. The problem that most folks have now is you'll call your dermatologist or whoever your doctor is for whatever problem you may have, and be like, hey, I got this issue, and I need to get in. And then they'll say, okay, well, our next appointment is 3 months from now or 6 weeks from now. If that happened in this case, a wonderful survival story could have had a much more, tragic outcome. And there's a couple of reasons why I think that is. One is there is a shortage of doctors. The way healthcare is going with, let me backtrack. The pandemic, there was a mass exodus of doctors and healthcare workers. It was a really stressful time for a lot of healthcare professionals and, folks who were kind of at the tail end of their career and, just having to, it was a tough time. A lot of them just said, you know what, F this, I'm out, and they retired early. The second problem is the way healthcare is now with, private insurance companies who are the absolute armpit of the world, just the most horrid, disgusting, immoral institutions, their grip on healthcare has really destroyed the art of medicine. And a lot of the smartest kids, when I was in college, the smartest kids went into medicine. The smartest kids were pre-med, the smartest kids applied to medical school, and it was really hard to get into medical school. Medical school is really hard, but it was, there was sort of a light at the end of the tunnel. You grind for years and years and years and years, but practicing medicine was beautiful. Doctors had a lot of autonomy, and also, being a doctor. And this is not a knock, but being a doctor should be a financially rewarding field. You bust your ass for a decade. It's 13, 14 years of schooling, including residency and fellowship. There's got to be something that makes it worthwhile for smart, talented kids to want to go into a field like that rather than becoming, working for a hedge fund or doing something in finance. Not saying that's not a worthwhile endeavor, but if you get sick, you want your doctor to be one of the smartest people I would think, someone that, is capable of figuring out a complex situation and dealing with issues on the fly and figuring out solutions. It takes a smart person to be able to do that. And, I know when I get sick, I want it to be the smartest person, someone smarter than me, taking care of me because, I want to get better. I want to get through that storm. But there is a shortage of doctors because, a lot of folks just don't want to go through the pain of becoming a doctor. And, for a lot of folks, it's not worth it. It's not worth busting your ass for 13 years and, basically, not being compensated for it at the end of it. It's not all about money, obviously, but many doctors are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt when you combine college and medical school, and you need to be able to recover from that debt. It's just, a matter of X's and O's. The other thing and this is another tragic thing that is limiting access to healthcare is, small private doctor's offices like mine barely exist anymore. I'm one of the last Mohicans. Me and a couple of my colleagues are one of the last small independent practices that exist. Most practices now are getting usurped by sprawling hospital systems and private equity. And frequently what happens is there's this bureaucratic firewall that exists between the doctor and their patient. So a patient calls up and they're basically, it's just some person who honestly just does not give a shit, who's just, has no like vested interest in the practice, or has no personal relationship with the doctor. They're just sort of a cog in this huge machine, and they're following some algorithm. Like, oh, okay, well, a new patient, next appointment, that's going to be 3 months from now. And that's it's an unyielding stance. Like, that's just the protocol that they follow. Whereas in a practice like mine, like, someone reached out to me, my patient's wife reached out to me on Instagram, said, hey, listen, I got the situation. Can you help me out? I emailed my office manager and said, hey, listen, we got a patient that needs to get in to see us. And then, this all happened in a matter of like 12 hours. And I was able to see the patient within 24 hours, was able to diagnose his melanoma in a matter of days, was able to get him into treatment, as soon as possible. Days really matter sometimes. If someone calls our office with like, a crazy case of poison ivy or shingles or something like that, that's not something that can wait 6 weeks or a month. Patients in suffering now, they want to see someone now so that they can, alleviate their suffering in some way. So small practices, we run lean, we're fast, we're quick, we're nimble. Someone calls me and gets in touch with us. My staff is one person removed from me. They can say, hey, Dr. Mudgil, this patient has like this crazy rash, can we squeeze them in? Yes, we can squeeze them in. Someone is calling us and they need help. We're going to do what we can to help them. That's the beauty of small independent practices. The problem with medicine now is like, these sprawling hospital systems, these huge conglomerates, private equity, they don't give a shit about patients. They give a shit about dollars and bottom line. And that's the only thing they care about. It's destroying healthcare. The art of medicine. And this was a perfect example of, I'm in, one of the biggest cities in the world, but it's like a real small town feel. Someone reached out to me. I know you. I'm going to do what I can to help you out. Boom, done. That is being lost. It's like, with all these huge stores and chains and stuff, the small mom and pop restaurant where the owner is there every night and he knows your preferences and goes out of his way to take care of you, or you can get like a last minute reservation because you have a personal relationship with the maitre d' or the owner of the restaurant. Those are the most beautiful things in life. These personal relationships that we share. That's what makes the world go round. That's what makes life such a beautiful thing. These beautiful relationships and us helping each other out, me being able to help people in their time of need, other people being able to help me in my time of need. That's the beauty of the world. That's the beauty of karma. And that's what makes being human such a beautiful thing. When you take the human element out of patient care interactions or any other, interaction where there's a consumer client interaction, any of that sort of stuff, the most beautiful part of that is the human connection. When you dehumanize it, like, big private hospital systems do, like private equity companies do, you lose the art, you lose the beauty, you lose the flow of, in my case, what being a doctor is all about. So with that, I've rambled enough. I'm so grateful that I was able to help this wonderful gentleman and, kind of able to get him through this little rough patch. I think he's going to have an amazing outcome, and nothing makes me happier than that. And I will close with wishing you all a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Get some rest and just get ready to dominate and crush the week ahead. Let's get it.